Have you talked to any meet directors as to find out how the structure works, or from outside looking in, since you're a new fan, did you look at the model of track and field from a meet director standpoint and say this model is broken, we need to change it, or anything like that?
So I have to give credit where it's due. So Mark Whitmore has been super instructive for us in terms of thinking through a lot of the like nuts and bolts of like how to run a meet, and also making sure we have, and credit to Kayla. Also, I got to give shout out to Kayla Green and Chris Van Zetta on my team who have been doing all the work. We've brought in, I'm gonna blank on the folks we've hired whoever there's like so this is all stuff that I got to learn first. Um, there are literal companies whose only job it is to make sure that all the times are perfectly captured, photo finishes, all that stuff. Like there are people who are literally expert at that one job who are being used at all the best meets. And so it's just, okay, how do we find the best people to do the job? Great, hire them, plug them in. And so there are some areas where we're not trying to reinvent anything, right? If like what was so important was that this was as like real and proper and official and well run as any of the best run events or meets. And then in areas where we knew we could ask, well, why is it done this way? And the athlete said, oh, that's a great idea. We went ahead and made the changes and made the tweaks. So like sort of infamously, I I admitted that I was asking if we could not have an oval track at first. Cause I was like, I came at this also thinking like, hey, Formula One Miami, that's one of my models where, people actually show up there from so many different sectors. They have such a great time. No one's actually even really paying attention to the race. It's just such a like spectacle, right? And I'm like, I love the fact that the track isn't, it's different in every location. Could we make a weird shaped track? And everyone was like, no, don't do that. That's stupid. And I was like, great. That's helpful. We will not do that. We'll keep it an oval. But it's been a process of trying to find and identify the very best folks to do the most like fundamental things as well as possible. And then where we have chances to do things different. For instance, like we're only fielding, so there's only 6 lanes open. That was something else where the athletes were like, hey, it's actually better storytelling if we have fewer people running at a time. And it's like, okay, let's try that. So it's only 6 races, 6 ladies per race. We didn't have field events for this Athlos in part because, again, I just came at it from the most pragmatic, like, where are attention spans and how do you tell this story in a way that can fit into something where, we're streaming on ESPN, YouTube, Twitter, DAZN, where I can get someone who's a casual who says, oh, cool. Like I remember seeing so-and-so run in the Olympics. I'd like to see her run again. Or like people who are just casuals should be able to dip into this very quickly and get hooked. And then I want the diehards to say, okay, this is legit. Like this is actually really great for the sport. But I wouldn't rule it out. I've spent more and more time. I had never been to a track meet before. And
Trust
then
me,
I went to
it's
the
going to be
qualifiers.
it'll be a circus. Like for the average fan watching, you're watching jumps, you're watching throws, you're watching distance running. It's all happening at the same time. If you don't know what you're looking at, it's almost like working chaos, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where our sport is moving to. What you're doing is you're kind of putting a microscope on these 6 ladies, these 6 individuals, and their backstory and their walkout music, and you're making it more entertaining, right?
Yeah, I
and then
want to make them stars. I want to make them stars, and so I hadn't been to one. I did finally. I went to my first one in Eugene, so I saw the qualifiers, and so that was incredible, right? And at the same time, I was like, okay, this is so exhilarating. And then I'm watching Tara, who is so dynamic, Tara Woodhull Davis, and she's such a star. And she has her section of the stadium all gassed up for one of her jumps. But at the same time, there's like a race going on. and as a casual, as a sort of first timer, I'm torn between 2 storylines that I know I should be paying attention to. Now, again, I realize they have an important job, right? They got to cycle through a ton of incredible athletes over a number of days to figure out who goes to the Olympics. Their why is different from ours, right? We get to curate and say much more specifically, okay, let's just reimagine this whole thing, starting first and foremost with how do we create the best platform possible for these individual athletes? Because they are themselves the stars, right? And for what it's worth, I'd never been to an NWSL match until our opener for Angel City with a sellout crowd of 22,000 people. So I I feel very confident that if you can bring the right people into the mix, and most importantly, talk to the athletes, and they've been our North Star the whole time, and the team has heard me say it time and time again, if the athletes come away from this event saying, this was the best track meet I've ever been to, we win. Because if they genuinely believe that in their bones, and they'll tell us, I mean, I want feedback, good and bad. If we've done that, they will put on the best show. They will put on the best race. They will, that energy will be palpable to everyone at Icon. It'll be palpable to everyone watching on YouTube, right? It'll be there. The brands will see it. They'll feel great. We all win as long as the athletes are feeling it and vibing. And I don't know. I like looking through that lens. I feel like we're onto something, but obviously still a lot more to do. And I can't help but look at some of these stars like Tara and think, God, we got to find ways I don't want to, we're still phase one. We're going to have Athlos on the 26th. It's going to be a great success, but then I'm already still thinking like how phase two goes. Because, I don't ever want to half-ass anything. I'm at a point in my career where I only want to be spending my time doing really exceptional big things with great people. And so the plan always from the start with Athlos was more than just one event. But we're trying to underpromise and overdeliver here. I know there's been a lot of the ladies had said, there's a lot of people who have brought a lot of hype and promises, but haven't delivered.
Yes.
And so I know I'm coming here as an outsider. I don't have any gold medals. I've clearly never run on a track since high school. So like, I need them to know, yes, we're bringing all of our expertise from obviously building Reddit, Angel City, all these other things. But, this is a new realm and we need to come correct.
Well, most of the meat promoters don't have medals or anything else, but they do have is the cachet that you have of ideas and big bank account, and, and they can move these type of things. So